Good morning and happy Valentine's Day to you. Valentine's Day, as Linda said, it's a time when we emphasize relationships, those special relationships that we've had in life, and it means a lot of different things to different people, but all of us have some special relationship in life, and it's good to be reminded to show our appreciation and our love and compassion for those who are special to us in this time. This morning we're going to be looking at Matthew chapter 5, verse 9, another passage from the Sermon on the Mount, another passage from the Beatitudes, where Jesus is emphasizing the need to work on relationships that we have. Not just relationships of a romantic kind, but it could be relationships from work, relationships in your family, relationships at school, relationships at your neighborhood, or it could be politically or governmentally or internationally as we work on relationships. And the emphasis Jesus has in this verse is to work on peace in those relationships. I invite you to look in Matthew chapter 5, verse 9, as we see the Beatitude. When Jesus is talking about the Beatitudes, which means the blessings, he's been saying over and over throughout chapter 5 of Matthew that God blesses certain people who have certain characteristics or behavior or temperaments in their life. And oftentimes where he's saying God blesses these people, they're people that are much different perhaps than what we would consider blessed. We consider the people who win the Super Bowl, they're the ones who are blessed. We consider the people who climb to the top of the cultural ladder or the top of the entertainment ladder or climb to the top of the company or whatever. They are the successful people. They're the people who are blessed because they've made all the tough decisions. They've crawled and climbed and they've made it, stepping on people sometimes to get where they are, but they made it to the top. And we look at them with admiration as they hold their trophies, as they make their millions, as they get to the top. We look at them and say, man, that's the pinnacle of success. These are the people who are blessed. But Jesus gave much different definitions of what it means to be blessed, or who is blessed as we look through the Beatitudes. Not the strong, not the ones who climbed over others, but he looks at the meek and the lowly and the poor and those who are mourning. And this time we look at a different category of people. Verse 9, Matthew chapter 5. God blesses those who work for peace, or some translations say the peacemakers, for they shall be called the children of God. We'll deal first with the last part. They shall be called the children of God. We could spend the whole day, we could spend weeks on that one phrase, being called the children of God. But let me just give you the shortcut version of what that means. Basically, when he says they will be called the children of God, it means that they are like God in their attitudes and their behavior and the way they deal with other people. They project the image that God has, that they behave the way that God would, or they treat people the way that God would. And because they reflect the attitudes and the image and the nature of God, they're called God's children, or the child of God, the son of God, or daughter of God. So when he's talking about they'll be the children of God, he's saying people who work for peace, people who are peacemakers, are like God. And that's why God blesses them. Now let's look a little bit at the whole concept of peacemakers. There's no question we need a lot of peace in our lives right now. The last few weeks, if you look at the fights between the reds and the blue politically in our United States, our country hasn't had a lot of peace lately. You look at all the conflicts in the world and different governments and different places. There's a lot of places, the coup that's going on in some parts of the world, the people who are running for their lives, people who feel that they have to be refugees and from their homeland to try to go someplace else to find peace. We need a lot of peace in our life, but peace doesn't come easily. Oftentimes peace is something that you really have to work to obtain. And we see that in a passage that I referred to in the outline. If you got the e-bulletin, I don't know if you look at those or not. But if you look at the e-bulletin, I always put a little summary of the sermon there in the passages. And I listed a passage there from Romans chapter 12, verse 18. And while I generally read from the New Living Translation, I'm quoting this one out of the New International because I just like the way it reads in this verse. If it's possible, as much as it depends on you, live at peace with everyone. If it's possible, and the implication is it's not always possible to live at peace with people. As much as it depends on you, do what you can to live at peace. But the fact is, not everyone wants to be peaceful. Some people love to fight. Some people like to get in your face and cause conflict. And some people are just contrary. And they're just that way. Or maybe they're that way towards you. And they're just not willing to give in. They're not willing to back up. They're not willing to do things that are nice. Some people are mean. You know people like that. You've had people in your life. And probably all of us have been that way at one time or another in certain circumstances or relationships. We don't always want to have peace with other people. Sometimes we intentionally pick a fight, or we perpetuate a fight that's been picked a long time ago. But Romans 12, verse 18, Paul is talking to the believer, saying, you need to do your best to live at peace with everyone. Now, I could emphasize that a lot, but I thought what I would do this morning is try to give you some simple steps, some simple keys or tips, if you will, on how we can live at peace with people, how we can be peacemakers, how we can bring peace into our relationships. And just to kind of give you just something to hang on to, I'm going to use my 5 fingers. And one at a time, we're going to go through 5 steps or 5 keys to being a peacemaker. And I'm going to ask you to join in with me, if you will. Let's start with number 1. Hold up your index finger, number 1. Now, when we do that, if you've won a ball game or if you won a tournament, oftentimes you wave your hand up in the air and say, we're number 1, right? Well, the number 1, you can put them down now. The number 1 shows us what's first, what's top. And when we read the Bible, we understand that the top commandment is to love God with all your heart, all your soul, all your strength, all your might, and to love your neighbor as yourself. So when I think of the first step towards establishing peace with someone, means that I need to enter into that relationship realizing that love is the top priority. Showing love to that person, showing love to God, making sure that when I respond to them lovingly, making sure that as we go about this relationship, we try to base this relationship and the way we interact to one another on a loving basis. Now, when I'm using the word love, I'm not necessarily talking about the Disneyland gushy, emotional love. That's fun. It's great when you have that. I find that oftentimes that love is an action more than an emotion in my life. Love is deciding I choose to love, I choose to act in a loving way. And if I make that the top priority, to say, above all else, I'm going to choose to respond to you, I'm going to choose to act towards you in a loving way. And I'm going to design my love and my relationship with you and my relationship with God in such a way that I put primary emphasis on being loving, being caring, on doing things that's not harsh, not saying those things that I know is going to hurt somebody, but try to respond, try to deal with somebody in a loving way because I'm making that my top priority to be a person of love as God has taught me to do. And when we start with the number 1, when we start saying, I'm going to do everything I can to live in loving with someone, that reminds me of the second one. Go ahead and hold up the 2 fingers. Now, depending on what generation you grew up with, this could mean a couple of things, right? A couple generations back, what did this mean? Victory. Yeah. And in somewhere around the 60s, it changed from being a symbol of victory to being a symbol of peace. So, you the hippies out of the 60s, they'd say, peace, man. And so that was the emphasis. And when you think about the difference between victory and peace, sometimes there could be a big change there. When your emphasis is victory, that means I'm going to do what I can to get past you, to win over you, to put you down so I can put me up, because victory is what my goal is. But if we start with love as the first step, then no longer is victory the second step, but now the top priority as we reach out in love is to have peace with someone and to do our best, as Paul said in Romans chapter 12, verse 18, to do our best as much as we can to live at peace with others because we love them. We're putting that love as the top priority of our life. And that means we make decisions in our relationship so that we live peacefully with others. And we make decisions, or try to make decisions politically, so that we can be at peace with others. Or we try to make decisions as a neighborhood or as a country, that we can live in peace with others. We're no longer seeking, first of all, to have victory over them, but now we're trying to have a relationship with them that's peaceful, a relationship with them that's harmonious, a relationship with them that means I'm not trying to put you down anymore, but I want to come along beside you. I want to show you compassion. I want to show you love. I want to be kind and gentle and get along. Because, first of all, I love God. And because I love God, I know I need to act lovingly towards you. And so I love you. And because I love you, then I have an emphasis on being peaceful towards you. So that's steps number 1 and 2. Love and make an emphasis of peace. Now hold up 3 fingers. And when I do this, I actually kind of fold the little finger and the thumb together and hold the 3 up side by side. Now, when you see this, what do you think of? Boy Scouts, Scouts honor, right? And do you remember, were you ever in the Scouts? Or maybe you had a child who was in the Scouts. They had a Scout code or a pledge that they have. Anybody remember how that went? Let's put it up. On my honor, do we have it up there? On my honor, I will do my best to do my duty. And then it goes on. I don't remember the rest of that. But it talks about on my honor. That's number 3, honor. We need to emphasize the fact that people have value. And treat people with honor and dignity and respect because we love them and we want to work towards peace. And so therefore we honor them as being important. I don't know if you saw this up here or not, but this is a cheesy little silly trophy. I won it years ago because we were with a group of guys in another town that we would go golfing from time to time. We got together and did all kinds of stuff, but we had a golf tournament that we did once a year or so. And one of the guys put together these silly little trophies. He took a piece of board, cut it in a square, didn't even bother sanding it down. Then he sprayed it gold, and he put the BK on there, the letters BK, because we would meet every week at Burger King and have coffee and get together. So then he drilled a hole and put a golf tee, stuck it down in the middle of the wood, black golf tee, glued it there. Then he took the Edgebrook Country Club golf ball, which is where we played the tournament, and he glued that on top of the tee. And then he took a beer bottle cap, painted it gold, turned it upside down, and stuck it on top of the golf ball and glued it there. Silly little ugly trophy, right? But you know, if you've been in my office, and a lot of you haven't because of our weird world this last year, I've got this on one of the shelves in my office in a place of honor. Now, why would I put this cheesy, goofy, ugly trophy in my office where important things are supposed to be kept? Because when I see this, I don't see an ugly trophy. When I see this, I see a group of guys that are special to me. I look at this and I think of times we had together and the fact that these are very close friends. And this I treat with honor because of the special relationship I have with those guys. There's no way in the world that I would ever throw this on the ground or toss it in a trash can. I would never run over it with my car. I would never do any of those. I wouldn't even take the golf ball off if that was the last golf ball I had in my bag and use that golf ball instead of the ones I have, because to me this is special and I treat it with honor. It's similar to how when we treat people with honor, we look at them as being special. They may not be, the prettiest or the strongest or the most attractive. They may not have the most talent. They may be a little rough around the edges at times. It may be that nobody else sees that person as special. But when we decide to love them and work towards peace and make the decision to treat them with honor, we look at that person as saying, this person has value to me. I honor this person. I want to treat this person with dignity. I want to treat this person like they are special because they are special to me. When we work towards peace, we make the decision to treat other people like they are special because in our hearts they are special. The process of making peace isn't an easy one. It doesn't matter if you're talking about a marriage relationship or you're talking about partners in a business or if you're talking about neighbors or whatever relationship you're talking about. It takes hard work to keep the peace. It's not easy. And sometimes that other person doesn't care if they live at peace because they kind of like the fight. But we need to reach out in love and say, that I want to love that person. I want to show that person love. And I want to make peace a priority in this relationship. And because it's a priority in relationship, I'm going to do my best to honor them and to show honor and respect to them. Now, when you honor and show respect, I talk about I wouldn't slam this golf ball or throw it away or run over it with the car because it's important to me. The same way with our relationship to other people. You don't try to hurt them. You don't try to do things that makes them sting. You don't throw them under the bus. You don't treat them like they're of no value because that's the opposite of what you're trying to do. Instead, you make that decision, I am going to, whether I like it or not, I'm going to treat you with dignity and respect and honor because my goal is to live at peace as I show you the love of God in my life. Love that leads us to peace, that leads us to honor. Now hold up the fourth finger, tuck down the thumb. 4 fingers, all right. Now take your thumb and kind of tuck it right behind your ear, like that. Now, I do this a lot on this side because I've got a bad ear over here. This ear works pretty good. It doesn't need any help. But this ear, I've lost about 80% of my hearing. And so if you're standing on this side, I can't hear you if you're talking softly, especially if it's in a room where there's a lot of noise or a lot of stuff going on. I have trouble hearing because this ear is basically gone. But this ear I can hear pretty well with. But that doesn't matter. The point is, if you want to be at peace with somebody, you need to listen. You need to hear somebody. Now that goes beyond just being able to understand the words they're saying. If someone says, hey, turn left, it doesn't just mean that you understand I'm supposed to turn left. You need to hear deep down inside what they mean when they say that. What is the significance of what they're saying? You need to understand the feelings, the emotions, the history that comes behind their words. Sometimes the people say things on the surface that isn't really what they mean down inside. And we have to understand. Most guys have heard this at some point where you're having a heated discussion. And at some point, the other person may stomp their foot or something, a sign, and say, fine then. Now, If you've been in that situation, do they mean everything's fine? If you're not shaking your head, no, you don't understand the first thing about listening to somebody. Because when they said fine in that tone of voice, you know if you're listening that it's not fine. You know that the next thing that happens is going to be bad because everything's just gone off the edge right then. And this relationship, this discussion is over. You need to listen to more than the words. You need to try to understand what people are meaning. I've had a lot of classes in counseling. Doesn't mean I'm a good counselor. I think I'm a lousy counselor. But one of the things I've heard emphasized over and over again is that a lot of people, when they come to you for counseling, when they come to you for help, they don't really want you to fix it. They don't want you to fix their problem or their issue. What they really want is for someone to listen to them. They want someone to actually hear what they're saying. Because for a lot of people, they never really feel that anyone hears them, or especially those special people. They don't really listen to them. And so there's all these frustrations that bubble up inside because their concerns are never heard. No one ever acknowledges that I understand what you're saying. The people get so upset because no one listens. No one hears. So when you come into someone with love and your goal is to emphasize peace and you want to honor that person, then you listen, you hear what they're really saying, and you try to respond in some way that even if you don't agree with what they're saying, at least you let them know, I hear what you're saying. I understand maybe a little bit of where you're coming from, because that is so important. Almost everybody carries around a little hurt in their life. Linda and I have watched this show on television called The Lucky Dog by Brandon McMillan. I don't know if you've seen Brandon McMillan's show, but he goes to dog pounds and he tries to rescue dogs that are on their last leg. They don't have a chance. They're about to be terminated. And so what he does, he tries to train these dogs and to pair them up with people who want a dog. And oftentimes he finds out that some of these pound dogs have been abused. And he has realized over the years that you can't do anything to train this abused dog until they learn to trust you. You've got to earn their trust. So one of the things that he does when he's training these dogs is to try to listen to see where they are and have they ever been hurt, is he's got this thing he does. He'll raise up his hand and he'll make a motion like that towards the dog. He says, now if the dog cringes, he knows immediately what? That's a dog that's been abused. That's a dog that's been hit. Because he says that dogs don't naturally associate that with danger. It's only with someone who's been hurt does that become a sign of danger. And so as he's listening to these dogs, he realizes that there are some things that some people who carry some dogs, they carry a lot of hurt with them. And before you can ever take them to the next step in that relationship, you have to deal with the hurt and earn some trust. Well, that based on love, searching out peace, honoring someone, listening to them, it also takes us to the fifth one. If you hold up all 5 fingers, the fifth step is not coming at people with harshness, not coming at people with anger. But instead, if you turn that hand around and you hold it out this way, is that threatening? No, it can be an attempt to shake hands. You give me 5. It could be just let me help you up because I recognize that you've been knocked down. So the fifth step is to reach out in order to help lift somebody up rather than to put them down. And just like dogs who've been abused, you've got to first earn their trust. A lot of people out there have been abused in a lot of different ways. And you don't want to come at them with a heavy-handed approach. You need to reach out with them gently, compassionately, and say, let me help you. Let me be there for you. Let me extend compassion to you. Where we're no longer trying to win the victory. We're trying to get peace. And we're showing them honor and listening and saying, I am willing to be there for you and to help you. 5 very simple and very rushed steps towards being peace. I rushed them in the sermon because I don't want to have a long sermon. But in reality, when we're working with somebody, we can't rush these things. It may take a long time to earn someone's trust. It may take a lot of time listening and not really giving them advice, just being there for them and spending time, letting them know that I hear you. I may not understand, but I hear what you're saying. I may not agree, but I can hear the frustration and I see the hurt in your life. And I want you to know that you're safe with me. I want you to know that I'm here to reach out and help however I can, even if that just means sitting here and being your friend. Blessed are the peacemakers. Blessed are those who do their best to live in peace with others. Because the people who do that, the people who are extending peace to others by showing love and having an emphasis for peace and being honor and listening and extending a hand to help, they are like God. They will be called the children of God. We need more peacemakers. We need more peace. Are you willing to make the commitment to be a person of peace, to be a person that's building bridges of peace with the people around you? If you are, you will receive the blessing of God. I encourage you this morning to take the time, invest the energy to make it important to be a peacemaker with others and look for opportunities to show love and peace and honor and listen and extend them a helping hand as you respond in love. Let's look to God in prayer. God, we are humbled as we realize far too often we don't take these steps. We don't take them seriously, even though we've known all this stuff. And none of it's really new. We don't always do as we should. So God, I ask that you'd forgive us. Forgive me. Help us each to be more committed to working for peace in our relationships, in our families, in our community, in our world. And to be an instrument of peace that can be like you and bring loving acceptance, joy, and peace in our relationships this week. I pray this in Jesus' name. Amen. At this point, I would invite our musicians if they'd come and lead us in our closing song. Amen. Let the peace begin with me. Would you stand with me as we have our closing benediction? Receive the benediction from God. May the Lord bless you and protect you. May the Lord cause his face to shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord be good to you and give you peace. Go in his peace. Amen. I invite the ushers, if you'd come and dismiss us one row at a time, please.